Numbers 30. Oaths and Special Promises. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of Israel. He said, "Here's what the Lord commands. Suppose a man makes a special promise to the Lord, or suppose he takes an oath and agrees to do something. Then he must keep his promise. He must do everything he said he would do. Suppose a young woman is still living in her father's house. She makes a special promise to the Lord, or she takes an oath and agrees to do something. Suppose her father hears about her promise or oath, and he doesn't say anything to her about it. Then she must keep her promise. She must do what she has agreed to do. But suppose her father doesn't allow her to keep her promises when he hears about them. Then she doesn't have to do what she promised or agreed to do. The Lord will set her free. He'll do it because her father hasn't allowed her to keep her promises. Suppose she gets married after she makes a special promise, or she gets married after agreeing to do something without thinking it through. Suppose her husband hears about what she did, and he doesn't say anything to her about it. Then she must keep her promise. She must do what she agreed to do. But suppose her husband doesn't allow her to keep her promises when he hears about them. Then she doesn't have to do what she promised. She doesn't have to do what she agreed to do without thinking it through. The Lord will set her free. Suppose a widow makes a special promise, or suppose she takes an oath and agrees to do something. Then she must keep her promise. She must do what she agreed to do. The same rules apply to a woman who has been divorced. Suppose a woman who is living with her husband makes a special promise, or she takes an oath and agrees to do something. Suppose her husband hears about what she did. He doesn't say anything to her about it, and he doesn't try to stop her from keeping her promises. Then she must keep her promise. She must do what she agreed to do. But suppose her husband doesn't allow her to keep her promises when he hears about them. Then she doesn't have to do what she promised. She doesn't have to do what she agreed to do. Her husband has kept her from doing what she said she would do. The Lord will set her free. Her husband can let her keep any special promise she makes, or he can refuse to let her keep it. Suppose she takes an oath and agrees not to eat anything. Then her husband can let her keep her promise, or he can refuse to let her keep it. But suppose day after day her husband doesn't say anything to her about what she did. Then he lets her keep all of her promises. He lets her do everything she agreed to do. That's because he didn't say anything to her when he heard about what she had done. But suppose sometime after he hears about her promises, he doesn't let her keep them. Then she will be guilty, but he will be held accountable for it. Those are the rules the Lord gave Moses about a man and his wife. And those are the rules the Lord gave about a father and his young daughter who's still living in his house.